provide you with the full information about the territory, its legal regimes, objectives, location, the contest participation, etc. The second part of the webinar, you can ask questions, which you can also be typing throughout the webinar in the chat, or otherwise we would then allow you to make them vocally. Throughout the webinar, we are having simultaneous interpretation, and you can choose either Russian or English. Both are working languages. You can ask questions using either of them. Please make sure that you select language. As part of the agenda of the event, we will talk about the specifics of the legal status of the territory, a new format, SciTech University as well as Sirius campus, the role of Science Technology Center Sirius in the development in the environmental agenda of the territory that is having a special role in both the territory and the contest, the specifics of the contest on top of the whatever we have already published on the website. The very first speaker of ours would be Alexei Basharin, assistant to the head of the Talent and the Success Pool of Educational Foundation. Hello, colleagues. Good afternoon. Very happy to welcome all of you. The topic of my presentation is the legal status of Sirius federal territory. I'll be talking about Sirius from the legal point of view. Back in 2014, in the Meritynskaya lowland, we had Olympic Games, and to preserve the infrastructure that was erected for the event, this was to be passed for children, and Talent and Success Foundation was established. The foundation was operating. The next step of the development was the establishing of the Scientific and Technological Center Sirius. From the point of view of Russian law, SciTech Center is a preferential regime which allows, gives for some preferences for the SciTech development, for the development and commercialization, for implementation of various innovations. SciTech Center might have been familiar to, such as Воробьевы Горы, the one where main part of the Moscow State University is located. Next stage was 2020. Significant introductions into the Constitution of the Russian Federation were developed and adopted on the initiative of the president of the country. One of the respective corrections amendments is related to the fact that the territory will be having special federal territories with particular status and authority. The president decided to use this status here at the Meritynskaya lowland, so a decision was made to develop federal territory to assure that Sirius has some some independence and direct interaction with the president and the government of Russian Federation. What is a federal territory? Traditionally, you might know that we are having three levels of the government: federal, region, subject, as well as municipalities. Sirius federal territory is a new type of legal institution where the unity of the public authorities was tested. Sirius, from the legal point of view, is a new thing. In line with its status, Sirius is not equal to the region subject of the federation. At the same time, federal territory is not a municipality, but it is performing both regional, municipal, as well as some of the authority that otherwise the federation has. This is regulated by 437 federal law on the 22nd of December 2020. This year we will be marking the 5th anniversary. Let me speak about the status. It has its own budget. It's a budget, separate budget from either federal or the regional. We don't have a concept of the property of of the federal territory. It is responsible for all of the property located within its boundaries in line with the respective procedures. Secondly, the federal territory itself is an experimental regime, part 4, Article 4 of the Federal Law 437, the concept of self-governance. Sirius has a right to have legal norms different from the Russian Federation overall, including land and architecture and other aspects. Since we would be doing urban development activities, an important article from the legal point of view is Article 46.1 of the Federal Law 437, where the specifics of the Sirius federal territory related to land use and constructions. Let me mark some of the aspects. We are having the parameters of the development and the types of land use opportunities. In that sense, we hope that the conceptual solutions that would be proposed by the competition participants would go into the overall land planning documentation for the territory. Secondly, we are paying special attention for the architectural solutions, and the procedure for approvals is very much regulated, and unlike majority of the city, we need to approve the exteriors for even separate buildings. Third category is the so-called the concept of objects of the federal territory. Classically, we are having federal, regional, and municipal objects. And here it's different. Federal territory facilities or buildings, constructions are legally in the same level as federal ones. At the same time, important that all the preferences for the federal objects, facilities, or the preferences are applicable here, such as be it documentation, be it legal status, etc. In that sense, we are using this regulation very actively. In that sense, we are inviting all the participants to take a look at this regulation. I understand that I used my 5 minutes effectively and be happy to respond to any questions related to either legal elements overall or the specifics. Thank you very much. Sir, we would be having Q&A session at the end. Please stay with us. We are moving forward. Mr. Anton Gusev, Deputy Head of Talent Success Educational Foundation, Director of Sirius, University of Science and Technology. Good afternoon, dear participants, potential participants of architecture contest of ours. I do hope that the federal territory would spur your interest and would generate pleasant associations to convince you to take part in the development of this such a first federal territory, developing the environment that will make breakthroughs for the development of staff and the youth. Let me remind that our university is quite young. It's established in 2019 on a decision of the president, and the main task and the mission of the university is to be developing and bringing the youth as well as generation of breakthrough innovations to support Russian Federation in the implementation of its sci-tech development, as well as looking for answers to the challenges in their Russian sci-tech strategy. The university is developing in line with the priority directions of the sci-tech development of the country, regulated by the specific decree of the president, as in line with the dimensions of both the federal university and the sci-tech center. The university is the 10th number 1 of the sci-tech development center, very much interrelated. The topics are very much being developed What's is the priority of the SciTech Development Center is the priority of the university, and the SciTech Development Center is the main client. The main areas are life sciences, information technology, cognitive and interdisciplinary research, ecology, and climate, and of course, educational technology. Climate change is also very important. These are dimensions that the federal territory is being concentrated, SciTech and the research university, everything is in synchron.
And those areas that what is coming and the parameters that are laid, they should facilitate the further development of the corresponding areas of the federal territory and facilitate development of these areas as part of our university and as part of the ISTC activities. The university is quite young and is actively developing, and from the perspective of the curriculum and educational programs that are present here. We work closely with the science and education. One cannot be imagined without the other. So every educational sphere is solidified and supported by the scientific research and development with the scientific and academic teams and research. And on the other hand, all the scientific research automatically result in some educational programs. So the training of the personnel, human resources, and the applied and theoretical research are interconnected at all stages. If we speak about our postgraduates, they all staff members, young specialists, and they conduct their research as part of different projects, getting a salary as part of this activity. Along with that, besides the active development of the content, we're actively developing infrastructure and the facility of the Sirius University. And one of the projects is to create a campus of the international level. It's very important to understand that in Russia launched the whole program of the federal projects on establishment of campuses. In the next 12 years, they will create 40 campuses in different regions of Russia. And one of them, of this inter-university campus, will be created there in Sirius, here in Sirius. And the first line of the campus is actively implemented. It will be reconstruction of the available residential premises, and the architectural concept has been developed and approved. And they go for detailed design and preparation with the start of the overhaul and other procedures. Architectural concept of the first order, or the first line, will take into account the materials that will be provided to you is for the development of the innovative regions. And the second part will become part of the innovative regions that are part of this international contest. And it is very important history for us because that's the architectural legacy, what was happening in the first stage. These should be two parts of one integral part. One, there should be principle of continuity, and the second part of the campus should be natural continuation of this innovative district that will be developed there. It's very important to understand that campus represents 8,050 seats, and the second part, 2,600 seats. It's very important to count the following thing, that the campuses inaudible. Just like Sirius itself, this started as an education project. It facilitates implementation of the educational programs for different regions. From the strategy perspectives, at least 11,000 students studying these network programs that spent attending special modules in series and receiving additional complex of the programs. It should be fine-tuned to such model of using this campus as the story of mid-term staying, not long-term staying, like a mid-term. When you come, we can come for a model and then go back to your original place, and effectively spending the time that you spend in Sirius, and effectively educational programs in terms of acquiring new skills, new competences, new knowledge, meeting the requirements of the co-working places, labs, and other facilities. So we create a maximum efficient environmental educational environment that will give a very strong impetus from the perspective of development of our university as well as the whole federal territory as a whole, creating the image for the decades to come. Thank you very much, and I'll be ready for Q&A session. Thank you very much. Елена Plichkina, the financial director of the ISTC Foundation series. Please, the floor is yours. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. I would like to tell you about the very essence of this International Science and Technology Center, here enough to refer to ISTC series specifically, and about the major goals of the ISTC development. In order to understand and to have a clear understanding, is the Silicon Valley in the middle of the 20th century, thanks to the technological development and the long-standing and far-sighted vision of the Stanford University management, availability of the land in the Silicon Valley has become the flagship territory for the scientific and technological development in the world. And every state have these technological valleys following the role model of the Silicon Valley. Most of the zones based on the emphasis of the major universities and provide some tax incentives for their residents. In Russia, the ecosystem is based on a different thing for the facilitation of these technological development. So scientific and technological centers that are functioning in accordance with the 216 federal law. Synergy of the business and academia, that's the major concept for the innovation centers in Russia. The territory of such centers create the overall land property with a special legal status that has special tax incentives and perks for the companies that go for scientific technological activity in a highly developing and developing high-tech business on the territory of this ISTC, and creating special conditions and a legal status for their members in terms of the urban development activity. The managing companies of such centers are intended to create the special infrastructure environment to attract and develop the activity of these high-tech companies. One of these centers in Russia is the ISTC series that was established back in 2019 on the initiative of the Educational Foundation of the Talents and Initiatives, has the unique competences. Sirius ISTC is the combination of the scientific educational activity on the priority areas of the ISTC. ISTC brings together scientific, introductory, educational, technological domains as they define the future development of the series. The residents of the series are high-tech companies Russia-wide, ready to implement the advanced ideas and test and pilot the innovative projects on the federal territory, using all the resources and opportunities of the series. ISTC Series Center is intended for the implementation of the projects accumulates about 190 hectares. There are the offices and labs of the companies, all the necessary conditions for life and work, for leisure activities for all the employees and staff members. Residents are not working independently, but they create a community of the academia, business people, entrepreneurs, creating joint projects and developing the disruptive technologies. The specificity of the ISTC series is that it is working on the federal territory that has a unique legal status. Having the special status and the federal territory creates a very special conditions for the development of the education, science, innovations, sports, social, and other infrastructures for the participants of the project and residents of the ISTC. The strategic goal of the ISTC series is to develop on the federal territory of innovative activity in accordance with the logic of major challenges, from scientific research to the commercialization and scaling up of the high-tech solutions. In order to achieve the goals of the center, it is important to address the following major objectives: to establish a network of ISTC residents interested in implementation of national technology leadership strategy, create and develop advanced infrastructure facilities that would catalyze and nurture these innovative solutions. Next one, to create a high-tech labor market, to ensure cooperation between research communities and their developments and business capital, to create supportive environment for high-tech companies that have the potential for further expansion and scaling up, to establish conditions for international scientific, academic, and technical cooperation. And currently, we have finished the first stage of the center development. We reached high indicators as of the beginning of 2025. On the territory of the center, there are 95 residents with an annual revenue of more than 20 billion rubles. and we acquired more than 200 results of the intellectual activity, and 30% have been integrated into the industrial process. The key indicators for the development of the ISDCC for the period of up to 2030 will imply the gradual development of the partners and residents, number of the jobs, number of the innovations, services, and goods developed on the territory of the series. In order to achieve the strategic goals of the center, it's very important to further develop infrastructure of this innovative center, to create the favorable conditions for attracting to the federal territory developers, high-tech companies, and entrepreneurs. It requires the establishment of the high competitive environment, ensuring high quality of life and stimulating creative activity, innovative activity. That's why the federal territory will have three innovative regions or areas or districts. The first is the multifunctional residential and business area with the overall territory of 5 hectares. It is built close to the concert territory, concert hall of Sirius, and implies development of the infrastructure for the digital technologies. The second district is the medical cluster and residential infrastructure that will be built close to the current lab complex of the university. And important element of this region is the Federal Medical University Research Center with a focus on oncological treatment, concept that was supported by the Minister of Healthcare of Russia. It will be a site for introduction of the innovative solutions based on the genetic technologies developed by the Sirius University in accordance with the instruction of the President of Russia. And the third innovative district, it's the second phase of the campus and the high-tech quarter with the research and development part. The concept of the region or the district has been finalized in terms of the functional content with the direct involvement of the leading representatives of the industry and the digital technologies. In generally speaking, opportunities of the region of this district to provide the residents and partners with the facilities, spaces, and some areas for creation and piloting and introduction into the production high-tech solutions. Well, basically, I would say that is the final statement I would like to say, and I'll be ready for Q&A. Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor to Елена Gershelis, Executive Director of the International Research Center for Ecology and Climate Change, and the Sirius University of Science and Technology. Sergey, thank you. Colleagues, dear participants and contestants, and the future participants, it's my great honor and privilege to welcome you and to be here and to share with you the most important things and principles, how we going to work and how we work in Sirius on the establishment of the unique harmonious educational environment, enhancing the multi-sided development of the personality. And as colleagues stated, our mission of this educational foundation that further evolved into this federal territory is the creation of this multi-sided, multifaceted environment where young, talented people will find a way to apply their talents, their ambitions to develop their skills in different areas. And in that terms, we develop the priorities for the federal territory development priorities. We bring together youth around the big challenges, global challenges, and colleagues has repeatedly mentioned that is climate agenda, environmental protection and preservation. That's one of the global challenges that youth in Russia and worldwide is facing. And climate change is one of the pivotal or the founding stones from which we emerge and plan the infrastructure. When we speak about the development of the environmental educational environment and creation of these harmonious conditions, we should speak and we should think that these conditions are created ensuring the balance and striking the balance with environment. It's an open secret that Sirius is a unique place from the perspective of the climate and nature. Quite recently, we had a big event in Abu Dhabi, as part of which we announced this contest, and we worked a lot with the school children from United Arab Emirates when we discussed the approaches and principles that would be important and much needed and most promising in deciding of this innovative infrastructure, this type of territories. And when we stated that Russia is rather cold, is biggest and coldest country in the world, we have the tropical part, and it's the federal territory of Sirius. And here I would like to pay your special attention to the fact that we want to develop our infrastructure harmoniously, aligning it with these unique environmental conditions that we have. I would like to state that Sirius is between the Black Sea and the Caucasus Mountain, surrounded by the beautiful, unique natural complexes. If you ever visited, you probably understand these, the Caucasus natural reserves, the UNESCO Heritage and Sochi National Park, and it's quite expected that we want it to consider some further solutions and the vision, the way of the further development of this territory when we speak about the minimal influence on these environmental natural conditions and the city in the park, the green in the city, when we integrate our city into the natural habitat, into this very fragile ecosystem in which we live and work. From that perspective, it's very important to highlight another principle, sustaining biodiversity, that we treat very carefully and we nurture it, and especially protected natural territories that have already highlighted, and that surrounds us. The issues of green solutions, some areas where we can ensure this biodiversity, not only witness it, but also study it, and to develop with the colleagues from the university and other centers some technologies aimed at preserving and restoration of this biodiversity. It's very important to say that. Finding some energy efficient materials in the construction and for infrastructure. Again, it's an open secret. We are welcoming using the most advanced approaches and most advanced technologies in the construction that will ensure, on the one hand, sustainability, climatic sustainability, and on the other hand, adaptability in adapting to climatic changes. Because here we're also witnessing extreme events, storms, hurricanes, blizzards, and so on and so forth, that should be taken into account while the constant development. Another important issue, the water resources management that would like to mention, and I would like to develop the system for the efficient water management solutions and the proper mechanisms of such management. I'll be happy to see that some solutions from the participants. More than that, we prioritize the endemic and unique plants that are present only here on this specific place in this tropical area. We have high rise territory, and we can go higher to the mountains, and we see some alpine meadows and some kalhide relic forests with the unique plants and this unique biodiversity they would like to preserve and to multiply actually and restore it on this territory of the federal territory. And colleagues have already mentioned, I would like to highlight it again, all the technologies and developments of our scientific centers, as well as the colleagues from other centers and from the ISTC. It could become the founding stones for so-called smart management and smart design of a new infrastructure, bringing to life them into these new innovative regions which are at the top priority for this contest. Thank you. We'll be happy to answer questions afterwards. We'd like to give the floor to Evgeny Ginter, Director of the Department of Architecture and Urban Planning of the Sirius Federal Territory Administration. Evgeny, please, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues and dear participants of the Open International Architectural Contest on the development of the master plan of two innovative technological districts of our federal territory series. As for the first district, our scientific technological district, it's the innovative medical cluster as part of the new real property aimed at the development of the high-tech medical solutions, personalized medicine, and preventive medicine as well, and healthcare, and ensuring the active longevity. The anchor project is the clinical center of the University Clinic of Sirius.
Uh, Daily polyclinic, 300 visits per shift, 451 bed shifts, as well as an inpatient department, 450. Of course, respective places of residence, hotel, social and household facilities, culture and consumer services, more detailed in in the documents you have probably looked at, checked on the website, talking about the medical clinic center, a number of zones, healthcare, gardening and park, as well as all the buildings. The territory should be developed with the proper requirements, including, of course, safety and security, greening, etc. We expect 2,300 employees to be working. 125 of the is are higher category. Support buildings and facilities should meet the requirements of both the staff and the patients in the clinic. Second stage is the second phase of the campus. Of course, colleagues have spoken more about that, speaking about the second competitive plot, as well as ISTC cluster facilities. Talking about the second plot of ISTC is 600 places. The expected territory is of respective square meters, no more than 70 meters height. We are recommending the application of educational environment approved by the Ministry of Education of the Russian Federation. Deviations are acceptable if they are justified. ISTC is not just a residential area. It is an area that must demonstrate how advanced technologies should be integrated into the sustainable development, life and work environment. The concept of the cluster should meet the concept of the city of the future, direct innovations, as well as people. Digital cluster functioning as a part of the integrated digital environment, safe and secure cluster, integrated, all the measures integrated into physical and digital infrastructure for the event. It should be ecological, assuring high quality life as well as minimizing influence on the environment. Of course, it should be active for active life cycle, as well as a test cluster, meaning that it should be directed at piloting and implementing all the elements. Of course, more details are in technical documentation for the contest, which I believe everybody should have received upon invitation, etc. My presentation is over. I'll be ready for providing answers. Yes, dear colleagues, let's take a look at some organizational aspects before we move to Q&A. Every one of you could have looked at the invitation for cooperation. Of course, we have looked at the key elements of our agenda. First of all is the objective of our contest. We are selecting the best master plan. We have looked at key elements that are to be addressed, the scenarios of spatial organization functional use, the development of economically justified urban development solutions that are to meet high quality, to assure high quality of life, incentivizing creative and scientific activities, architectural appearance, of course, plus, of course, landscape and spatial organization. Two stages of this contest are first the receiving your applications, we catalog them, you're registering on the official website, everything's electronic at registration area. You are that is meant to be streamlined. What you want to see is your portfolio, your essay, etc. The second stage would be there for three finalists that to be selected by the jury, and these three will be working on detailed development. Upon the end of the second stage, the winner will be selected. And now the participants can be the Russian or foreign international companies or teams that have experiences. And of course, it's important that you can bring in your team specialists in economy and finance as well as content programming. Total prize fund is 22 million rubles. First part, and the amount of 4 million rubles is being paid up at the beginning of your work, and the second part would be paid based on the upon the place you take at the end of the contest and the respective amount. This is the schedule of the competition. You have enough time to prepare the application. You can file your application through the 30th of May. You see completion of accepting competition applications either privately or as a consortium. Help you understanding how you should act. Preparation stage is being supported by webinars. This is the first webinar. You are going to have two more of them ahead. We would be giving additional information, responding to your questions, and together with the experts from Sirius Federal Territory, we would be providing all support necessary for you to prepare your applications as best as possible. On top of the webinar, of course, hotline, as well as email connectivity is there. Please pay attention to in-person visits to the territory. The contest is not virtual. Upon selection of three finalists, we will be having an in-place seminar at the federal territory. It will take about a week. You will dive and you get exposed to the way federal territory is functioning today, meeting people who are living and working there, getting to learn how they work, how they do scientific research, teaching, supporting, or life support in general. The territory will have opportunity and the access to interact with people from every part of that federal territory's life. You'll be able to interview them in person, take a look at what's implemented, as well as take a look at competition is covering. And you are seeing the jury meeting will be taking place in person as well. If you are going through into the finals, you have prepared your proposal, then at the final jury meeting, you would be able to present your thesis and defend it in person. Respond to questions and learn then what place was given to you by the jury members. If you will look at the QR code in the lower left corner, you would get into the mobile version for the website. This is the main interaction platform where we are publishing everything. Part of the information is made public. Part of that will be accessible to you in your private workspace on the website, meaning which is why it's important that you go through the registration either during this webinar or later to be able to use the private workspace of the participant and then the finalist of the contest. Please pay attention to the hotline and competition email. The +7 is code for Russia, 495 is Moscow. Phone number is quite simple. It's bilingual. When dialing, you'll be able to choose necessary language, Russian or English, and get the consultation. Should your questions be very detailed and require preparation, then probably would recommend you to use competition email, info@siriusmasterplan.com. Through that email, you can request any information. It's a single window access. The operator for you is the one window, irrespective of what part of the contest or what part of the documentation your question is related to. We would route your question and provide a response to you, providing a qualified answer in the language you use when applying. Please use all these opportunities at the stage of preparing your applications. We are very much interested to support you in the very best way so that you can present yourself as well as present your developments. Now let's move on to the terms of reference. I'm passing the floor to Irina Levina, the Chief Project Analyst. Thank you, Sergey. I will speak about the terms of reference for the competition evaluation criteria of the first stage. The application for the first stage participation is open for everybody. I believe everybody is taking part with us. There are three parts of the application. Are looking at essay, then sketches, as well as portfolio of the applicants. In the essay, we expect to see the description of the key ideas for the master plan for 4,000 through 6,000 symbols. In sketches, we are looking for the illustration of the solutions. You are to be describing essays no more than 5 images. In case of portfolio, we are expecting to see some 5 relevant projects in the urban development, architecture, socioeconomic development, and of course, no less than 1 project from the consortium leader. Please pay attention to that 3 out of 5 submitted projects should be in territorial planning, master planning, or architectural and urban planning documentation development. Now, how are we assessing these elements? The essays, of course, looked at whether the ideas proposed are in meeting the subject of the competition, the context of territory and goals. Of course, we are looking at the originality, thoroughness, and feasibility set out in the essay. Looking at sketches, we are looking at the quality of sketch execution, compliance of sketches with the ideas outlined in the essay. Looking at portfolio, of course, the relevance of the portfolio to competition tasks, as well as the degree of completedness of the projects you have presented. Looking at the second stage, upon assessment of the applications, we are to select 3 finalists. Let me take a look at the principles, how the contest application should be shaped. First of all, it's meant to be creating an environment that is conducive to breakthroughs in scientific and technological advancements. Of course, creation of unique environments supporting the goals of the federal territory, formation of an urban environment for residents, federal territory, including representatives of the scientific and creative community. Of course, looking at consistency of architecture image with the established image of Sirius, looking at sustainable development principles and green standards, transport connectivity within Sirius and with the outside world. Was, of course, important that this is phased implementation, phase 1 through 28 and phase 2 through 35. Now about the composition of competition proposals. These should include album visualizations, presentation boards, necessary videos, 3D model of the territory, additional materials you plan to add therein, contents. Of course, a comprehensive assessment of conditions for the development of the competitive plots, scenarios for spatial organization, functional use of the competitive plots. 3, urban planning solutions, ensuring implementation of scenarios of functional use and spatial organization of the competitive solutions for creating architectural appearance, as well as framework, financial and economic justification of competition project. Now, about the criteria for evaluating competitive proposals. First, compliance with competition documentations, the requirements of terms of reference, strategic documents for socioeconomic development, how they comply with documents regulating urban development of the Sirius federal territory. As it was said, the urban planning in Sirius is specifically regulated, complete consideration of urban planning context, including existing development restrictions. Of course, comprehensiveness of architectural planning and urban development solutions, deal of architectural planning and urban development solutions, correspondence of competitive solutions with the global trends and modern standards of comprehensive sustainable development, originality of architectural concept of competitive solutions, consistency of architectural concept with established architectural appearance of the Sirius federal territory, and how that meets contest elements. Dear colleagues, we are now moving to the most interesting part, which is a Q&A session. You can raise all the questions you have in the chat. We are demonstrating how you can use them functionality. If you want to pose the question verbally, otherwise you can just type it in the chat and I will vocalize it so that our experts can respond. Once again, if you want to make that question vocally, use the hand raise function. If you want to speak verbally, we'll give you a turn. Now, let me look at the very first question that I have seen. I got the first throughout the presentation. I am looking at the list of questions. I see that some of the questions were covered throughout, but number one, Ms. Tatiana Krasnikova, would like to hear, of course, portfolio, etc., etc. Are you giving different share of weight to different components? Look, information about your company, about the portfolio of that is demonstrating your experience in either implementation or the development of such projects. The essay in which you are describing the key ideas was described by Irina during the presentation, as well as visualization. Altogether, that is making up for the application that we would be assessing. Talking about the second part, of course, there are the criterion indicators, and our contest is an open contest, so all those elements are published in the second part when we are assessing the way the finalists are working, so that you would know how, using what elements you would be assessing. In the first part, your application is very general, talking about your ideas, talking about your experience and achievements and your capacity. Question number two, can we give details of coordinates? Is there topography documentation, etc.? And then here I would invite our experts to join in. Do we have topography documentation as of today? Whether we would be able to provide the contestants with this information? Evgeny, maybe you'll be best to comment. Yes, thank you very much, Sergey. Dear colleagues, we do have topography information. It's archived. We will provide you with the coordinates. No difficulties here. Thank you. I see Mr. Daniel Medvedev would like to make a question. Please go ahead. Yes, hello, everybody. Quite a very detailed presentation. As thank you very much. I'm presenting Team 12. So I'm co-founder and a partner. If I have questions about the formal requirements for a consortium, consortium is about attracting foreign legal bodies. And what if we want to attract not a legal entity, but a private individual, an expert, and can take part as a private proprietor if we would look at this from the point of view of the Russian realities?
Let's answer this question. Nothing prevents you from attracting any expertise as part of your team and as part of the further development. It's not about the regulation within the context conditions. We're not limiting or restricting and not interfering with your economic activity. If you attract expert, you and your form can reflect the availability of some expert and special from different country, but it doesn't go for consortium. This consortium that is based no, that's what we wanted to specify, because in the competition terms, it is prescribed the legal entities, consortiums, entrepreneurs, and some other things about for foreign participants. As for the lineup of the consortium, in the context of the application, there are certain requirements for consortium that at least one project from each member of the consortium should be presented in the portfolio. And what should we do in case consortium is exceeding the number of the projects that is needed to should be provided as part of the portfolio? For example, there are 5 according to the terms, but in consortium there are 6 of them. In that case, you just choose on your own. We are not recommending the applicants to exceed that number of the consortium members, because we also consider, can that leader, organizational point of view, manage the team that he established and formed. As part of this competition, we are looking not only for the solution, but also for the team capable of implementing this project. You can bring together as many legal entities as you want, but you need to choose the 5 best projects that you would put in the portfolio. If your organization has more projects, then you choose the best projects from the total amount of these projects. But you should pay attention that it should be represent the leader of the consortium that would manage and navigate and guide this work. And another final question I would like to ask, as for the terms of reference or technical assignment, this competition, it has certain architectural bias, and they have very detailed description of the first stage of the technical assignment in terms of reference related to analysis of the territory itself and development of the problems that should be addressed. And on the stage of the development of the architectural solutions, there are not so many details. In that case, we would like to specify what is the level of detailization we should go for. The second stage, should we immerse or dive into the development of the planning solutions of this capital construction or master construction, or it's not the level of detailization, and this PPT level is the most relevant one. The basic principles and the major requirements are available at the official website of the competition. They have very detailed description of them. If you go for the second stage, as part of the second stage of the competition, the finalists who qualify for that stage, they will have the detailed technical assignment. And that assignment is based on the national standard for master planning that was developed by web.rf. That's why we intentionally use the term master plan. It's additional volume that should be performed, and further you expose each detail and you specify, we'll publish them on the website along with the stages. We are not ready to provide a detailed assignment and the wording because whatever we are ready to provide, the next stages will be provided in the leaflet, in this invitation leaflet for the competition. Thank you very much for your answers. I have no more questions. I would like to pay attention to all the contestants. It's the valuable source of information, so make a reference to them because this invitation to participate is one of the most detailed in the competition track record over the last 5-10 years period. So take advantage of reading it because it has the excessive answers about the territory, what are the intentions, what are the major tasks. I can see that we have some questions in the chat. Can you tell us, please, does the Federal Territory Series have the master plan, transport map of the territory in order to know the major categories of the road street network? Are there any procedures and restrictions for the transport maintenance on designing the building and construction areas of the road street network? This is a question, the cross-section of the expertise of Evgeny and Alexei, who could specify that. Thank you very much. As for the transport network, while developing of the master plan, our esteemed participants should imply comfortable and convenient and transport maintenance, and the planning solutions should take into account and planned transport network. In terms of the master plan, some unified document and zoning and planning. At that very moment, we don't have that document so far, but I would like to say once again, that what Sergey said in the beginning, we have this special regulation that is regulated by the federal law 437 that we can use for the territory planning documents development. Alexei, could you say something on top of that? I would also send my comment in the chat. What I would like to say is for the master plan, we don't have as such idea as a master plan is not implemented in the legal field. So what do? First, we have solution by the Council on the implementation of the construction and land usage as part within the federal territory, which says which federal documentation, construction documentation should apply to this territory. In the chat, I will send you the hyperlink so you can check it out. We have the federal law 46.1 over the 437 federal law. The second part, well, it says that we can approve the document on the territory planning, not in taking into account the current city planning and urban planning. I'd like to pay your attention to the logic that applies here in this amount of the documents regulating street and road construction management. It should be followed and obeyed. While developing of the road street, it's not allowed in order to see what categories of roads and street networks are available. You can find the solution of the council, check the documentation of this urban documentation that applies to the federal territory, and find some information about the street and road network. Because initially this territory was incepted as one single project of the planning that was included during by the Olympic Games 102, who have high density of the road and street network in accordance with the new Moscow with the maximum density roads territory. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you very much, Alexei. Dear participants, I would like to remind you that you can send your questions in the chat as well as you use the function of raising your hand in this Zoom platform. I would also like to make a reference to our foreign participants, and if you want to ask the question, you can ask them in English, and our conference interpreters will translate the question into the Russian language and as well the answer from the Russian into English, so take advantage of this opportunity. And the next question in the chat, close to the ICTC territory, there are sites of the petroleum storage. Will they be relocated, or we can suggest it within this project scope? I mean, the competition project scope. Can we touch on the territories that are adjacent and neighboring this planning or designing territory, competition territory, and go beyond that. Colleagues, what would be your take on that? Could we relocate the petroleum storage sites and our contestants go outside, offer some integration and provide some wider vision on that? Colleagues, I would like to comment on that from the legal perspective. We have mentioned today that one of the criteria for assessment of the proposals are feasibility, including as well as the invitation to participate in the competition. We put an emphasis on the economic efficiency and the feasibility of the solutions proposed. The territory of the petroleum storage, it's quite specific site, which ensures the storing of the benzene and as well as the kerosene, aviation kerosene, a big quantity, and the petroleum is not follow into this federal law 52.2, and it's not possible actually to relocate them as part of a new construction. Anyway, if this petroleum storage will be relocated, initially you cannot do that, only on agreeing it with the property owner, and I hope that the colleagues will support me. If you suggest such fundamental and some drastic solutions on relocating these infrastructural critical energy infrastructure sites, there should be some alternative solutions, simpler solutions. And your proposal, when we go for the master plan and detailed task or assignment, we should see the economy there. It doesn't mean that you have all the calculations for the relocation, but should be some the scope of the numbers, how much it will cost, at least rough estimates. And the economy is very important here, and this economic component as for the feasibility of these solutions, and we pay very much attention to them. That's why we invited Nikolai to the jury members. As for the, there's some update on this question. Did they define the territory limits, or can the participants suggest some amendments to this area restrictions? So we define the borders, and Irina can maybe comment on that as well. Yeah, colleagues, that's true. We have very specific competition borders and boundaries, and it's all about the feasibility if you go outside for feasibility of this master plan. But still, you have to meet this criteria and this requirement that we singled out for the preparation of the proposals. Alexei, if you have anything to say on top of that. So again, about the economic efficiency and practical feasibility, if we speak about the petroleum storage, and if you want to relocate it to Adler or outside the federal territory, we approach it with a certain point of criticism. And more economically complex the solution, then stricter will be our requirements for this feasibility study. Thank you very much. Dear participants, I would like to remind you that you can use this raise hand option, tap this icon, and you can use the microphone, or send the question to the chat, and I'll give the floor to you. I will just read out the questions that we have in the chat. As for designing site, will it be the whole territory or only the specified sites? Will the finalists give the proposals on the territory as a whole? I think the answer to this question have been mentioned by our experts. We have specific two parts, two sites are identified, they're specified. You can set them in this presentation and invitation leaflet that is placed on the website of the competition as well as in the section of territory. But along with that, if besides the full implementation of the technical assignment as part of this competition, you can offer something over that outside the scope of this must-do task, but not instead of that. You can do that. You know, the federal territory can consider your options and your ideas, and it will be valuable contribution as part of this international competition. It's very important to receive any feedback as for the territory development, but it doesn't substitute and doesn't cancel the must comply terms of this competition, and the discussion will be around all these issues placed in the competition terms. There is another question. It's not very clear. As for design and planning territory, you mentioned 3 districts, but you have to develop master plans for 2 districts only. It's absolutely clear because In the competition, there are only 2 districts, 2 areas that will be part of this competition. Since we have it's not the whole territory. Out of these 3 districts, they allocated 2 of them that are part of this competition and are considered as part of this initiative. Can you tell what other restrictions and servitudes in these design territories? What are the heights, density of the construction? You have partially answered already this question. Colleagues, maybe you can comment on that. Alexei, Evgeny, in terms of the density, and then high rise, low rise, and servitude. Colleagues, can I say something? As for the certain restrictions, there are on these territories, and this information is available in the invitation leaflet in the appendix 2. As far as I remember, I cannot tell you precisely and accurately all the restrictions. As for these petroleum storage, and they're quite diverse. Make sure you read them attentively and carefully, because it has all the documentations where you can find these reference to. As for the high rise and low rise, some certain parameters you can take into account. There are special divisions for the first district and second district. There are certain restrictions. And for the airport territory, and the tallness is restricted there of the buildings or height of the buildings. And you can get more specified information in the documentation. If you have any specific questions on top of your mind, please make sure you share it with us. Well, basically, you mentioned everything. That will be enough, actually. So invitation to this competition has all the necessary information about the and this invitation to this competition is prepared. Colleagues, you have the valuable resource. Very few contests and competitions have very detailed description. If you go to the website, the first graph that you'll find there is the tab invitation to the participation, and you can download all the relevant updated information about this federal territory prepared by our expert in order to find the answers to all your key questions. Next question: is there information about the categories of the residents, age, sex, and so on and so forth? Did you perform such research? Is it relevant or not? Can we provide such information or not? May I comment on that? As for the residents, the legal entities. It's not about the age, I would say, and it's of the top priority is the scale of the company, how big it is, and the medium, small, and enterprises, startups, and we can share the forecasts that are integrated into these ICTC strategy 2035 up to 2035, and was the shares of these categories, and was the percentage of them. If we speak about the age range, then we assumed that there is certain research, internal audit and research conducted by INAPARC and the Innopolis and the innovation cluster of Lomonosov. The average age is 31 years old of the company's employees. And still, it is more interesting to know the profile of the companies, their specific area of activity. It's a subjective expert assessment, but it is laid as the founding indicator that reflects the strategy and that we take into account while we use these infrastructure development solutions. I can see the question about the coordinates and these length. You can request it from the operator of the competition and these strategic development agency center on a website. You can see the email as the hotline, telephone number, send your request or make a call, and and get all the needed information that is missing in your invitation documents or in presentation materials. Take this advantage. Any questions can be specified and sent to us. We'll process them and provide all the needed information during one using single window option.
I see Elena is writing that our team is doing a great job. Well, expressing great big thanks. Well, pleased to see, dear participants. Do you have any more questions that you would like to pose? Either use the chat or raise your hand and communicate your question vocally, please. Be sure that if something is unclear, etc., we would be very happy to provide any necessary help. Do you have an invitation to participation in English? Yes, we do. Does anyone else has questions? I have a question. Possibly it's meant to me only, but at the same time, it seems a general question. How safe is it to be designing facilities close to the oil storage? Since this is an oil material storage, it has a sanitary protection zone. It's there, and within the sanitary margins, you are not allowed to locate residential buildings. This is article number 70 of the law on fire safety. That is regulating the distances and measures how you can minimize those margins. So once you see such a facility, your team should have people that know the regulation related to various safety aspects and management in such situations. Well, thank you very much, Alexei. I'm seeing some people writing in the chat that you are not just doing a great job, you are the very best organizer. Well, it's of course something that pleases us very much, dear colleagues, but let's move on to specific questions, very interesting questions, dear colleagues. In the invitation, we were demonstrated that this is the first climatic park that would be integrated. Would that be on the territory? Would it be partially connecting? Could you please speak give us more details about this climatic park? Irina, can I request you to talk about this? Thank you very much, Sergey, for the question. Very important aspect, the concept of the park. First, climatic natural park is in the development stage now. Should we be linking it to, of course, we should be integrating. In my presentation, I was speaking about the importance of the proper, well-balanced integration of Sirius infrastructure in this green, friendly residential zone. And the boundaries of the park specific coordinates cannot be shared at this very moment, but it would be important to note that when you would be designing these on these two plots, you look at uniform greening approaches that would be assuring the balance of natural environment, natural and built environment, because it's important that the boundary within the boundary of Sirius federal territory, number of the clusters of the natural park, natural reserve. So bringing together all those components, plus of course the complex existing complex within federal territory and the adjacent one around Sirius, and the should be working well together with all the approaches that you'll be using to greening the territory you would be designing. Thank you. Next question is about visualization. Quote about the visualization of the proposed solutions. Could you please speak about sketches? The limit of 5 images, is that sketches only or the total number of images as part of application? Yes, we are talking about the sketches that are illustrating your proposals described in the essay. It's not an application, it's the first stage of the contest when you are making some sketches to add that to the essay. You can only have 5, not more. Next component is a portfolio. In the portfolio, you're having some illustrations of the projects that you have done or worked on. That's a different story. But talking about the sketches to illustrate your essay, 5 is the limit. Yes. More questions? You can either please ask more questions if you have, either in writing or raise your hand. Any topic that is not covered? Yes, I see a raised hand. Daniel Medvedev, please.
Да, небольшое уточнение по эскизам. В заявке также в детальном описании есть еще такая позиция, как дополнительные визуальные материалы.
A clarification, speaking about the sketches, there is a concept of
Не более 5 должно быть, но могли бы
preliminary illustrations.
раскрыть позицию про дополнительные визуальные материалы.
You spoke about the
В
sketches,
самом
but also additional visual materials.
Они
Could you
не
please
являются
clarify that?
оценочными
These
материалами, но
are
при
not
фрагменте
materials for
конкретной информации
evaluation,
в описании
but
они
but
фигурируют.
they are
Здесь
included
можно
into the overall description. What is that?
Да, давайте я отвечу. Тут имеется в виду, что вы можете приложить, например,
In
таблицу,
here, what we
схему,
mean
может быть,
is
даже
you can
графики,
add
если вы
various
там
tables,
проработали
schemes,
и
or
что-то вот эти
graphs
графические
if you
показатели,
want to
чтобы,
demonstrate
ну, допустим,
schematically.
правильно относить к эскизам,
It's
то
difficult,
даем ссылку, вы можете
things that
добавить ссылку,
cannot be
чтобы
categorized as
как бы жюри лучше
sketches,
смогло
but
визуализировать, да,
some
соответственно,
information,
его.
additional non-sketch informational material, visual
Последнее
materials
уточнение.
that would
Эти
help
дополнительные визуальные
the
материалы,
jury
они
in the evaluation.
не ограничены в своих объемах, как, например,
Because
эскизы
I
или
understand that these
фрагменты.
additional materials are not limited
Да,
by the
все верно, они
numbers,
не
unlike
ограничены в
sketches.
объемах, но они как бы не должны, как это сказать, брать на себя функцию эскиза.
Yes, but they should
Это именно
not be
что-то вот
replacing the sketches.
сверхдополнительное,
It's something
дополняющее.
additional.
Мгм. Спасибо большое.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Are there any limitations on the participating countries? Questions from Alexander Shargin? No, no such limitation. If there are more questions, please go ahead. I see once again a question about materials for visualizations.
Условиями конкурсным материалом являются материалы визуализации предлагаемых решений. Общие ракурсы 3 штуки по 5 изображений на ключевой территории.
Visualization.
Не менее 7 ключевых территорий объектов формат JPEG. Нас спрашивают, получается более 35 изображений?
Да, коллеги, тоже отвечу. Все верно, более 35 изображений, но это уже то, что касается конкурсных материалов. То есть это непосредственно разрабатывают те финалисты, чьи заявки были отобраны для финала. Вот, то есть такой объем там кажется вполне себе удобоваримым.
Which gives us okay the answer and then the comment that it's understood. Dear contests, do we have any more questions? Please use the broadcast chat to pose the question or raise your hand. You'll be able to make your question vocally. In either of the formats, it's important for us that we clarify all questions. We are interested in each application to be able to become a winner. I see no hands raised. No additional questions in the broadcast chat. Let's have the last slide on, giving a chance to contact the operator. Top right is a QR code that can take you to the website, or type it by hand. Upper left corner, email and the website. Contact details of the operator, single window. Feel free to contact us. We would bring together all the necessary information. And last go now. If you have any more questions for this webinar, please pose it now or going forward, either by email or by the hotline number over the phone. 30 seconds. And there it comes. Portfolio should have no less than 3 projects and territorial projects. And if we don't have such,
в одной из областей, то есть у
we'll
нас есть
do
3 области, это территориальное планирование, либо документы, ну, мастер-планы, либо это документы по архитектурно-градостроительному проектированию. Подробнее, опять же, написано в условиях конкурса, какие это могут быть примеры проектов. Вот в одной из этих, соответственно, областей нужно выделить.
We have given the types of 3 projects. It can be either 3 master plans, in 3 categories, 3 different categories. I'm sure that you will have respect 3 projects. So in either of the categories, you can have you can rebalance them in the plus. Of course, you can be using consortiums that would bring together necessary number of projects. We do not see more questions coming. We are thankful to participants of the webinar, thankful to experts dedicating so much time to the contest and interaction with our distinguished contestants, participants of the contest, and the potential participants. We are calling on you to be ambitious, to be eager, to be asking questions, to be developing your ideas, asking us as many questions as possible. You see that the territory, the experts, and the operator are ready to be providing you with all necessary support. We are looking forward to have you taking part in our competition related to the most inspiring territory of the country. Looking forward to the next webinar of ours.